Biden forecasts a recession within a year. What are we in right now if we aren't already in recession? 2 GDPs down in volume, and that is the historical definition of a recession. But yet Biden was denying the fact that we've been in a recession for the last year. And even though the historical definition of recession has been at the leveling tables economically across the boards for the last few months, Biden has denied it. What is this turn in Biden's speech and in his words and in everything that he's supporting now that's saying, goodness gracious, we're going to be in a recession within the next year? Now, one of the big things that's been holding him from saying that has been the fact that employment has been strong and numbers for unemployment have been extremely low. And so one of the big things is positioning the United States where we understand exactly where housing is, housing prices are, where GDP is, global import and export is, and where our economy fares in comparison to where the economies are sitting internationally with other countries like China, right? This is the first time in many years that the U.S. economy is growing at a more hyper speed than China's economy. Right now, the U.S. has surpassed China in economic growth and economic stability in the first time in, I don't know how many years. It's been a numerous amount of years, almost a decade, if not longer. And so when we sit back and we look at Biden's now historic projection of, hey, we're going to be in a recession in 1 year, and it gets everybody, the U.S. American people, in a frenzy, sitting back going, oh my goodness, we better caution ourselves from buying. I was doing some research and I was looking at a Bloomberg article and was also listening to what Gina Riosto, who is our U.S. Secretary of Commerce, was saying about what Biden's statement meant to her and what it meant to the United States and where the U.S. is in relation to what Biden is saying right now. So in spite of what Biden's saying in regards to the recession, I want to give you guys a little bit of insight, and then later in this video, I'd like to share with you guys a little bit about the housing market, the stats for the housing market, the projected units for 2023, and where we are right now ending 2022, moving into 2023. But before I explain that, let me explain to you guys a little bit about what Gina Riosto was talking about in relation to Biden and his projections of this recessionary market. I know the mainstream media, they display a lot of influence on the U.S. American people, their buying habits, how they see things, and how they actually spend money and how they actually get out and buy, purchase, and all of their spending habits as a whole. Now, I'll sit and tell you guys that this is the first time in probably what's been more than a decade that we've had more economic growth in China. So that's one good thing. One of the big things that Gina Riosto was talking about was the fact that she's in communication with the largest corporations nationwide and worldwide daily. And when she's talking to the large corporate industry leaders that lead our country in economics, they're not worried about purchasing habits of the U.S. American people right now. They're telling her that people are buying. Consumers are still out there, they're still purchasing, the bottom line on their books are still growing, and that there's still a need for labor. They're still hiring. There's still a lack of labor, that availability to the marketplace. And so when she's looking at this from a commerce standpoint, we're still leading the industry and the world as far as economic growth. Now, if we don't stabilize what's happening right now economically as far as inflation, we're creating international problems economically that will hinder us over the course of time. And so right now, we're sitting in a position where the worldwide economy is doing okay, but the U.S. is leading the worldwide economy with strength. So as a U.S. economy right now, we still hold the strength in international commerce and international purchasing. And so I'll tell you that when I look at stats like Bloomberg and I'm listening to people like Gina Riosto, who is on the forefront, forcing commerce, and she is the Secretary of Commerce, so she's in the forefront of what's happening. I like to listen to these industry leaders to be able to depict exactly what's happening in the market today. I will tell you that housing has softened and it needs to slightly. And so for those of you guys who are buying land, building houses, those of you that are investing in single-family homes, build-to-rent communities, or anything with the single-family market sector, listen up, because this stuff is important statistics that you can understand the pros and the cons of what's happening in the market right now in relation to the single-family housing market and multifamily housing market. We're projected of an 18% dip in affordability in 2023. So when I talked about this back 6 months ago, I sat and I told everybody, I said, look guys, when you're underwriting deals, look back at the 2019 market. If you look back at the 2019 market and your deals underwrite based on the numbers that were sitting in 2019, you'll be at a good place financially on your purchases and acquisitions and your investments. In spite of the 21% growth during COVID, the 5.8% growth post-COVID, and what we're at right now, the 18% growth is still slightly ahead of where we were in 2019, which was healthy growth. And so one of the things that you need to pay attention to is where we were pre-pandemic and where we're going to be projected to go out of this 2023 year. Because in spite of the 18.5% dip, what they're forecasting is a 5.8% growth post 2023. So even though we have an 18% dip, then we're expecting almost a 6% growth pattern the following year, which starts putting us back on track for new growth. When we're talking about single-family home units being built and prices per unit, we take a look at the biggest cities, New York, Miami, we take a look at California, and California leading the industry. California is projected to dip 8.8% over the next 12 months, and the average median home is projected to go from $831,500 down to $758,000, and then projected to see a 5.7% incline after 2023. So in spite of the market softening from where it's at right now at $831,000 in California, we're projected to go down to the median sales price of homes in California to $758,000, and then a 5.7% growth post-2023. When we talk about units being built on houses, this is the number that you really have to pay attention to, because this is what really affects the housing market. So if you want to project 5 years, 10 years down the road, and you really want to have a really solid understanding of where we're going to be economically, we all know that there's a housing shortage. We're over 5 million rooftops short of where we need to be right now to service not only what our current needs are, but the millennials and the Gen Z population moving into home buying just over the next few years. Because of the housing market softening, we're projected to see a 7.2% decline in housing development as far as units over 2023. We're projected to see 333,000 homes built in 2023, down from 360,000 homes built is what's projected in 2022. So when you look at all of this collectively and you think of 30,000 dwellings short of where we need to be just to fulfill what our current year's needs are in 2022, already leading into be a more softening of the economic growth pattern, we know that 2023 is even going to soften more. All that means is there's a higher desire and need for more housing as we move into 2024, as we move into 2025, and as we move into the future. And so if you're sitting back wondering, is there a need for homes? Where am I going to be? Should I buy land? Should I build houses? Should I get into rooftops with multifamily? The answer is yes. Underwrite your projects to make sure that you're underwriting them with a buffer from 2019 numbers to today. And if the numbers underwrite, in spite of the decline of 18%, so if you take today's numbers and you depreciate those numbers by 18% and you underwrite your numbers by 18%, and if they still pencil and you can still make a modest profit or a reasonable profit that you fulfill goodness in your heart with, then move forward with your project. But hence, don't stop building, don't stop buying, don't stop investing. Just learn how to underwrite projects efficiently to take advantage of the current needs, the current market, and the projected market decline so that you can set yourself up for wins. And if the market shows more promising results than what the projections are, then your profitability goes up. And if it doesn't, you're still in a really good place to profit financially and to go out and compound your success.